What is up? We are back in the shop. I have a ton of good news. It's already been 2 weeks since my last upload, 3 weeks since I have done pretty much anything car related because my life has just been pretty hectic and busy, but I'm ready to get back into it and get back to work. I still have been doing some stuff on the Subaru and I will show you guys everything that's been done. We've had major progress. Also, I finally got rid of the broken Audi. So I have a nice new open spot here in my shop to finally maybe get another project car. All of the parts have come in finally for this thing. So we can finally start doing all the machining that needs to be done to the engine so we can put it all back together, get this project going and back on the road. I cannot wait to drive this thing. I'm so excited. I still have the wagon Audi, and we're going to be detailing that car today in this video, taking pictures of it, posting it. It finally runs perfectly. Like, there are no issues. Boost kicks on immediately. It pulls straight. It drives perfectly. So we've got to get this car detailed. I need to get that car sold because I need to make some money to dump back into this thing. I've spent so much money already on this, and I would like to put some more money back into the bank, maybe get another project car or something of the like. I do have a leftover engine from the Audi that we got rid of, and I'm trying to look for another car that has a blown engine that we could just throw that in, make a little bit more money. So let's go around the shop. I have several stations set up so you guys can see everything that I've been working on. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the power steering rack rebuild. I finally got all the parts in for it. This kit right here was really hard to get. I ordered it from a seller on eBay. It was the only one I could find all the way in the United Arab Emirates, and it took about 2 weeks to get in. These two bearings were also very hard to source. Unfortunately, they do not sell a rebuild kit for the rack and pinion on the WRX, but they do sell them for every other year model Subaru around it. So the Legacies, the Foresters, the Outbacks, all those have rebuild kits. So I basically ordered one of those. I ordered the bearings straight from Koyo and some of the seals as well, and I made my own kit. This saves me a lot of money. This was the best route for me, I think, and it turned out really well. This is the pressure valve that goes inside of the steering gear. We're going to replace all the Teflon seals on it, and although the Teflon seals that came in the kit that I got, that was for an 04 and up Subaru WRX, these ones look like they will work and they will fit, so I don't think it's going to be an issue replacing the orange ones with the black ones. And it's just a matter of pulling them off and then stretching the new Teflon seals over in place, and then you just let it sit for a little while before you assemble it. That way that the seals can contract back to form, because Teflon is not very stretchy, and once you stretch them and put them on the valve itself, you want to give it time to contract back down.
Old seals and our new seals installed, and we got to give them time to shrink back down. Teflon seals stretch a little bit, and then you got to give them some time to compact. A little bit of a tight squeeze, but it's on. Perfect. All right, now we got to press our new bearing on, and as you can see, it's a very tight fit. Our old bearing will just slide right on, and our new bearing will not, because it's new, but that's all right. All we got to do is use our old bearing as a driver, put it on there, and then with a piece of tube we can drive it in place. So let's go over to the workbench and get this installed. All right, so right now basically we're driving this bearing and this seal. These are the old parts at the top of this housing, and we're just going to hammer this down in there until it sits flush. Man, that feels nice and tight. Great. Beautiful.
Now we got to install our new seal down here at the bottom and our new bearing. So here's the old seal. Found one that fits perfectly. Just line it up in there. And we'll just press it on in. Wow, this thing feels so much tighter. Steering on this thing is going to be amazing once it's done. Nice, all done. Steering gear is back in one piece, and this thing feels, oh my lord, so nice. Wow, our steering is going to be so much better in the WRX. Now I can drop the steering gear in place. We got this new seal here. Rebuilt steering gear. It should just, there we go. Okay. We got 2 bolts that hold it in place. Oops. Oh yes. Rebuilt steering gear, and it feels so nice. All right, now we gotta finish with this and our ends, and this steering rack will be done, ready to go back in. There's one Teflon seal left to swap out, and it's on the steering rod. It goes inside of the rack, and there's also an O-ring underneath this one, and I could not find an O-ring in the kit that would fit, so we had to reuse it, but it was still in good shape, and it's underneath the Teflon seal, so I think it'll be fine. All right, brand new Teflon seal and O-ring installed. There's another seal inside of the rack here that I didn't show you guys the way I removed it, because it was all the way in here and getting it out was a nightmare, as you can tell by looking at it. Not my finest moment, so I didn't record that, but I did install the new one, and this thing is nice and tight. The shaft is in there with the new Teflon seal, and I can feel it's creating a lot of good pressure. So we'll put a little bit of not power steering fluid, transmission fluid, because that's what the Subarus use. Then we got our new collar here. That goes in. Okay. And then you just use the old one to kind of drive it in. And there it is. Steering rack is now fully rebuilt and resealed. And boy, has it been an adventure getting all the parts for this. Would I recommend doing this to you guys? No. Just buy an aftermarket one. Although this is probably better than the aftermarket ones, this was a lot of time, a lot of work, and a huge headache, but it did save me about $200. The last and final piece to tie it all together is the locking ring and the locking clip is what you would call it, I guess. It's like a little wire that gets fed in through that opening, and you kind of spin it around. You'll see as I drive it with a screwdriver and hammer, and it'll lock everything inside of the rack so it doesn't come apart. There it is. Lock ring installed, new spring. Now, if I did this all correctly, this will be probably the best steering WRX in the world. I'm just kidding, but we had to repack this with grease, and I don't know if this is the correct grease to use, but this is the grease I had, and it's high temperature wheel bearing grease, so I think it'll work just fine. And to lock our steering gear in place, put this guy in here. Spring. We'll tighten that up, and now our steering gear won't go anywhere. It'll stay locked in there. And we have power steering now. That feels so tight. I cannot wait to put this in the car and drive it. It's going to be amazing. All right, now let's rebuild our power steering pump. First, remove the 10mm bolt holding the pressure sensor connector bracket, and it looks like the little pigtail is rotted away. All the rubber's coming off. We'll have to repair that. Next is a 10mm bolt holding the power steering return port. Now we remove the power steering pressure switch. So it looks like we have a spring clip. You can see the opening right there. So I'm going to have to pop that off in order to take all of this out and inspect it carefully and see if there's any other seals internally that we need to replace. The little spring clip isn't made to be removed, but when I look inside of the rebuild kit, there is 2 brand new spring clips in there, so I'm assuming that one is made to be cut off, and that's not going to be as easy as it sounds. So I'm going to do my best to try and nick this thing up enough to where I can just break it off. All right, well, wish me luck. Let's do this. I finally got it off. This was the hardest spring clip I've ever had to remove in my entire life. Oh, yes. There we go. Perfect. Now it all comes apart. You cannot pull this pulley off of this shaft. It is definitely press fit, but you can see the marks there from my jaw puller. I heated it up. I did everything I could. It even bent one of these rings on it, but I hammered it back into shape. And yeah, you just cannot take those off. So this is the only option I had to taking this thing apart. Now we can get to all the seals that we need to get to, but I first need to clean this thing completely up. Then we can go into actually rebuilding it. Yes!
We actually have one more thing to take off of this before we can start cleaning it, and that is the pressure valve. And I don't want this thing getting damaged, so put it in the vise with some protection. All right, now we can take this guy right here off, and we're gonna need something pretty big for that, like this guy. There we go. All right.
With everything finally disassembled, I laid it all out, inspected all the pieces, and there is no abnormal wear. So now I just got to clean it all up, and then we can start putting it all back together. Now it is all nice and clean. No more dirt, grease, or debris. Nice clean parts so we can start putting all of our new seals on from our seal kit. I think it's funny how these kits come with like instructions, but they're just general instructions for like some random power steering pump that doesn't even apply to the parts that you have in front of you. Now, the kit came with a total of like 7 O-rings or seals, and they didn't all fit or didn't seem like they all went to this power steering pump, maybe other different models as well. So I only replaced a few of the ones that were in the kit with the ones that they matched on the parts that I had. Other ones I had to get out of a random seal kit that I had with a bunch of different O-rings, but most of them were still in pretty good shape. Some of them were starting to get kind of hard and brittle. The ones here inside of the actual power steering pump housing were really hard. They were actually turned into plastic. I could break them into pieces. So I'm glad that I decided to replace those because those were definitely leaking pressure. Now, when doing this, just like with the steering rack, you want to make sure everything is microscopically clean. You don't want any type of little debris, dirt, fuzz, any of that stuff in there. And you want to lube everything up with power steering fluid, or in our case, it's transmission fluid. That's what these Subarus use in their power steering system. So I gave everything a nice, good dousing of clean transmission fluid, and then we were ready to start assembling the pieces together. I almost forgot to replace the pump shaft seal, so we popped the old one out and this thing went flying across the shop. And of course, that thing found the darkest, most hidden spot in the shop to hide, but we needed that so we could drive the new seal back in. New O-ring on this guy. And there it is, our pump, all refreshed, nice and clean, ready to be used for another 200,000 miles. After the pump was done, I went ahead and attached all the lines to the steering rack. Every single line has a tiny little O-ring inside of it. I replaced every single one of those with some nice green upgraded NBR O-rings. I replaced that power steering line right there as well with new power steering hose and cleaned everything up beautifully. Now we're going to move on to one of the best upgrades you can do to your power steering system, and that is polyurethane bushings on the steering rack itself. Now, the ones that were on there had rotted away from all of the leaking fluid that had gotten on them. They basically just ballooned out. There was nothing there. But when you replace your bushings with polyurethane ones, the one thing that it does is the responsiveness and the tightness of the steering is just unbelievable. I've always done one of these upgrades to all of my cars, and the steering feel is amazing. Steering shock is way down, way reduced. The way that it car handles after this is just night and day. So if you want to do a quick upgrade to your steering system, this is one of the things I would recommend, and it's very cheap. I paid $60 for this set. Wow, that is a really tight fit. This steering is gonna feel super responsive. And that is a good thing about putting these bushings in. They absolutely change the way your steering feels. Very cheap and very good upgrade.
And there it is, steering rack with the enothane polyurethane bushings, upgrade installed, fully rebuilt steering rack, resealed, relined, cleaned, everything. I can't wait to turn that steering wheel and carve some corners in this car.
All right, guys, we're going to shift gears a little bit now. It is time to start doing the machining of our engine while finishing it, honestly, because I already started some of it. As I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, I already poured it and polished and resurfaced one of the cylinder heads. And I'm going to show you guys the way I do it and my process. And that's what we're going to do now. So let's get started on this cylinder head with the machining process first and show you guys how I do that.
So you're going to want to start with a nice flat surface like a good workbench, but then you're going to want to get a flat slab of either marble or granite, and I tape it down with duct tape just so it stays in place, doesn't move. And then you get yourself 120 grit sandpaper with a sticky backside so it sticks down to the marble. Then you coat said sandpaper with WD-40 and use a lot. Once you have all that set up, place your head on the sandpaper and machine away. So you're going to glide the cylinder head from one edge to the other in a diagonal motion. You're not going to put down any pressure. You want the head to do all the work itself. So I kind of just like carry it almost, just letting it glide over the sandpaper and letting the weight do the work. So don't push down on it. Another thing is you don't want to do this to a cylinder head that has been overheated. So if it's very warped, you will have to get that professionally decked. This is just a way to get it flatter and a very good clean surface so that the head gaskets can get a nice tight seal when everything goes back together.
Yep, you can definitely see the low spots, which is going to be all of this area here. This whole area is a low spot. And once we start going the opposite direction, you guys will see it'll start flattening out better. And then once we're done with this, I do have a flat edge, and I will show you guys that this works very well. I've done it hundreds of times already, and it's always worked for me. I've never had an issue. I actually did it on my other Subaru that I have, the Outback, and I've already driven 12,000 miles, no issues at all. So tried and true method. I will always continue to do this. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it's better, and it's worked for me. I know some of you guys probably aren't going to like this, and that's okay. It's not for everyone, but it works for me, and I've done it in the past. So that's how we're going to do this on this cylinder head. Well, both of them. So I'm going to keep machining until I got a nice flat clean surface, and then we will go on to the port and polish. All right, cylinder head has just got back from the machine shop, and it is looking beautiful. And I don't have my straight edge yet, but when I get them, I will show you guys that these are nice and flat. And trust me, we will not have an issue once this is all put together. I will remind you guys of this exact moment in this video when we did this exact thing to the cylinder heads, and the car will be running perfectly fine. All right, now let's blueprint our head and get it ready for the port and polish.
Now, I'm no expert. The last time I did this was probably 15 years ago on one of my first cars that I ever worked on or owned. But you're going to want to lay your gasket over, and you see all the exposed metal. You're going to want to paint that with either a paint marker, or you can use a Sharpie like I'm using. Essentially, that's the stuff that we're going to cut out. All we're doing is creating an unobstructed path for the air to flow from the intake manifold into the cylinder head. And then the port and polish part is getting rid of all the burrs inside of the chambers, so it's nice and smooth in there. The airflow is better. We're also going to make a fin because that part that separates the two valves is kind of chunky. And if you create a fin, it'll just allow the air to flow a lot smoother. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you didn't get it flow tested and this and that, or they're not matching. It doesn't matter. The OEM doesn't do it. They literally just throw these in a cast molding and make it. They're already uneven as it is. So you just want to eyeball it and get it as close as you can. It doesn't really have to be scientifically
matching. Just as long as it's pretty close, it'll be fine. Now that we've essentially mapped out what we're going to cut and take off, we're going to take a look inside and see all of the casting marks. You see all the burrs and bumps and lumps, and it's just not a smooth surface. We're going to open this up a little bit more, and we're going to make that all nice and smooth. And that's the fin that I'm talking part. That piece in the middle, it's going to get flattened out. It's going to be nice. Then we're going to open these up as well. We're going to smooth all that out. You can see all the lumps, bumps, and burrs from the processing or manufacturing process. You can even see where the machine cut out the opening for the valve seats. We're going to smooth that as well because it is pretty deep and it's kind of a gouge. Here is the before and here is the after. Now this is just a rough cutout. It hasn't been completely smoothed out yet. I have a few more passes to go through with 1000 grit and it'll be a nice, smooth, shiny surface ready to suck in boosted air, make us a lot of power. And you see the fin? You see that? You see how thin that is? Beautiful. And then these were opened up as well. Didn't touch the valve seats. We're gonna relap this anyways, but you definitely don't want to damage the valve seats. But I did open it up a little bit, and that's gonna flow a lot better. The worst part about doing this is the freaking mess it makes. You get flakes of metal every freaking where. It literally looks like it's been snowing aluminum. And here I'm just going to give you guys a quick little bird's eye view of how I do this with the rotary tool. You want to have a cutting bit, a nice one. I couldn't find any round ones like ball shaped. The only ones I could find were like these cylindrical ones, and it's kind of hard to work with those, but I got it done. Well, there you have it, guys. We certainly got a lot done on these cylinder heads. The machining turned out really well. I still have a few more passes to do for sanding just to get it nice and smooth. I feel like this one turned out a lot better than the other cylinder head, so I might have to pull that one back out and go over it a little bit because I did get a new tool. Once I started on this one, it's a better rotary tool from HyperTough, part of their 12-volt line. So that one works a lot better, and I also got different bits, so I am going to hit that other cylinder head. And then I also started on the TGV delete. If you guys don't know what that is, ask me in the comments. And if you guys want, I will make a short-term video explaining how that delete works. I'm not going to go full out with it because I want to leave some kind of modifications for the next person that buys the car. But I do want to do a minor delete on it because I don't want to have to get it tuned and all that stuff. So, and I will explain that in another video. But yeah, let's get the freaking wagon Audi ready to sell because I need some cash. There's the beast once again, and hopefully tomorrow it gets sold. I got someone coming to look at it, and I'm doing one last repair. I just finally detailed this thing and it looks really good. It smells like a leather glove inside of it. Sorry, it is nighttime. Let me show you guys what it looks like in here. There it is. Finally, all nice and clean. Hopefully, we'll be gone tomorrow. It's finally not giving me no more mechanical issues. I had it listed at $4,000 for like 2 months, no bites. Well, actually, I had one guy come and then the low oil pressure light came on, so I had to fix that. Now it's been listed at $3,500, and I finally got one guy interested. And I found something else broken. The freaking glove box, of course, of all things. If you know Audis, you know this broken freaking piece here. And of course, there's no way to actually be able to swap the box over and the door to a new unit because I did get this one from the broken Audi. And I can't swap anything over to it because everything is like glued together, and yeah, Audi makes it to where you can't take it apart. Although they do make it to where you can swap the locks. There's one bolt there, and you can swap the lock over to a new door, but I don't know what, well, unless you found one that is the exact same color, I guess, then it would work, but I'm not going to spend any more money or time. Alright guys, well, that is it for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, And we're plugging right along with the WRX. In the next video, hopefully we'll have everything ready. We can start putting the engine together and maybe throw it in the car and fire it up. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I will see all you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Peace.